Yesterday in this news show, I interviewed President Trump, and today, to my great surprise, I just learned people wagered online nearly $1 million about the interview. So weird. People made their bets on a prediction market. What's a prediction market? People are betting on everything from sports to apparently, yes, my interview with the president. Have you heard about these prediction markets? Congress has. The Senate just banned itself from participating in these prediction markets, fearing insider trading. So is the House next? Well, that's coming up later in the show. Also coming up, a state Republican Senate candidate found dead. The mystery is in Oklahoma. But first, breaking news. President Trump sending a letter to House Speaker Johnson alerting Congress about extending U.S. forces in the fight against Iran. It's been 60 days since the U.S. launched operations against Iran on the 28th of February. Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows joins me. Good afternoon, sir. And the war, I guess, goes on. According to the president, Iran wants to resolve it, but he is not satisfied. What's a win?
Well, I think a win is certainly a non-nuclear Iran. But candidly, what happens in these last weeks of negotiation, if history is any really lesson for us, is that the Iranians will start to offer things that are half solutions. And the president's right to not take a bad deal. We can tell you that certainly not only from reporting, but from what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz, that there's a real constriction of their economy. And so the president is right to continue this on. I think at the end, it will be well worth it. But we can't have a bad deal just because we're growing weary of having our men and women deployed over in that region.
Mechanically, how do you think this is being done? Because we practically have GPS tags on Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. So, I mean, how are these negotiations being had?
Yeah, so normally what happens is they offer a little bit of hope in trying to entice you in, and then they'll cut it short. Oh, well, we can't. They'll put a red line up, and so it's a whole lot of push me, pull me kind of negotiations. But the one thing that the Iranians do understand that they didn't get with any other president, and they do get with President Trump, is the very fact that he's tough, and they understand only one thing, and that is tough, and that is power, and that is might. And the president certainly has the best military strength, and quite frankly, some of the best negotiating minds on our side. The president's also unpredictable, and that, I think, is his strength, in that he is willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that America wins and that this is a lasting peace in the Middle East.
Well, according to the president, according to everything I read, is that who is the leader is up for grabs. It's a jump ball. Nobody knows for sure. And I imagine that it's relatively difficult to reach any sort of negotiation with if you don't know who you're negotiating with, and if suddenly the next day it's somebody else who's in charge, and you need somebody who has the authority to actually bind the IRGC, bind the regime. And I mean, so I don't know. I'm not sure how until Iran sort of sorts out its personal problem. I don't know how we resolve this with them.
Well, it becomes very difficult, Greta, and you're spot on with your analysis. And yet what it's going to have to take is the Iranian Republican Guard has to understand that they can't call the shots. And so what you have is a lot of people with military might and military expertise, those that typically are much more extreme in terms of not only their rhetoric, but their actions. They're going to have to understand that it's a life or death kind of decision, not only for them, but for many of their closest allies. You would have thought that the last 60 days would have already sent that message loud and clear. But it's kind of like the Hunger Games. There, everybody's clawing for everyone else to figure out who's ultimately going to be in power. We knew this going in. The president certainly and his team knew this going in, that there would be this vacuum and who's going to rise up and be able to make the decisions. But ultimately, ultimately it's going to have to be the Iranian people that say enough is enough, and hopefully get their military to stand down long enough to actually have a lasting peace accord.
Well, it certainly seems bizarre. Khamenei, who was the Ayatollah who was eliminated, as they say, on February 28th, his son supposedly was to take charge, and heard all sorts of stories. He lost a leg, that he's in a coma. I've never heard so many stories about one single person. And there have been two written statements read by state TV that I recall that supposedly he made, but we don't even know if he's alive. I don't know if he's alive. I'm sure that maybe the president and our intel people do, but there's certainly no indication to the public or to the media if that guy is alive, and whether we can negotiate with him.
Well, I can tell you we have some of the most advanced intelligence in the world. The Israelis do as well, and I'm sure that they're sharing that intelligence. But this is really a message to the Iranian people. The longer that he does not show up in person, and that it's not him on camera, and it's just a few written put out press releases, I can tell you that the vast majority of those are starting to say, well, who really is in charge? Who's calling the shots? And that's what we're having to deal with. I can tell you that the tighter that the chokehold gets in terms of the economic ability to make sure that shipping does not benefit the Iranians, the more difficult it becomes each and every day. We've seen this in other Middle Eastern countries. If you recall back many years ago with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, when it gets down to where the money runs out, they get negotiable very, very quickly.
No country that I know of, I don't even think Russia and China wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And we've had some rather bruising statements back and forth across the Atlantic with our NATO allies, including Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of England. Are those relationships bruised, at least for the duration of the Trump administration?
Yeah, I think they're very much bruised, but I think the bigger problem is what is the president going to do about it? I mean, part of the big concern that I have is when you start to hear rhetoric coming from the German chancellor, who essentially is not only putting us down in the American military might, putting them down, but essentially a go-it-alone kind of strategy. And for me, I said, we saw the president say, okay, tariffs are going to come on your automobiles. But I think you can go even further. The pharmaceutical business that is out there, the American pharmaceutical companies, actually help subsidize many of the pharmaceuticals in Europe. They take advantage of it at the expense of the American taxpayer and American country. So I think we ought to start looking at that, have the president look at perhaps a 301 investigation to address that. Listen, we don't mind having great allies and partners, but when the going gets rough, they need to stand with their allies, and we're not seeing this in this particular conflict. And the president, nothing hits him harder than when somebody is not being fair, and this is not a fair deal in terms of some of our European allies. And so, yes, there's some bruising that's gone on. Hopefully we can get it back, but they need to get their heart right.
It's interesting within the Republican Party, within the Trump flank of the party, which is the entire party, but there are some people in his party, the MAGA people, who are very upset with this war, and they don't see it as an existential threat to the United States, that it's none of our business. This is, business go off in the Middle East. Is this war an existential threat, to the United States?
Well, is Iran? Sure, certainly. And one of the things that I think that we're really a product of our own success. We get to live in America very, very peacefully for the greatest extent. And yes, there are things that happen and are tragic and difficult, but we're not seeing missiles coming lobbed into our country each and every day. But I can tell you, without sharing anything classified, those that have seen the classified briefings and know the capability of Iran and what they were trying to get, knows that this decision is a good decision for Americans, not only today, but long term. And I would also say this, that when you see the way that they've responded, not just to us and Israel, but to their other Middle Eastern countries, they're someone that can't be trusted with a nuclear weapon. And that has been the only reason that they have engaged on this uranium enrichment. That's been lost for a big part with some in the MAGA movement, but they're afraid that we're going to get into a long, extended war. And I can tell you, President Trump's not going to allow that to happen. He's been consistent in his first administration. He's been consistent now in his second administration as it relates to that. So I think it'll be a lot more strategic and short lived, but hopefully we're looking at this in the rearview mirror in the very near future.
Well, I think it is a fact that since 1979, there's been no olive branch extended from Iran to the United States. And when they're shouting things like "death to America," or at least the regime is, and "death to Israel,"
you got to believe them. You got to believe them.
At some point, yeah. And where they say they have 60% enrichment, and diplomacy has failed. I mean, it's like, we really ran out of options if you don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. Mark Meadows, thank you, sir.
Great to be with you, Greta. Take care. God bless.
Thank you. Coming up, you'll never guess what Iranian officials are considering to use to attack U.S. warships. This is a first. That when the record continues.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dry premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Simparica Trio protects against 3 categories of parasites.
Power disease. Intestinal.
This drug class has been associated with neurologic side effects, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with or without a history of these disorders. Don't just protect, triple protect.
We want to take you now to President Trump speaking in Florida.
Joes, they're all over. I can't get rid of them. What are you, 219? I think they're 219 rallies. They are sick individuals, but we love them. I don't know what the hell they do, but they have money someplace because they do a lot of traveling. Look at the front row, Joes. But we provide seniors, and we have a record-setting average tax deduction this year of more than $7,500. Think of that. It's been amazing. And on all of them, people, and I've seen it even on the fake news. Look at all the fake news back there. What? That's a lot of fake news. That's a lot of fake news. That's a lot of fakers. Did you see where they had a study done and Trump on the evening news gets 93% bad publicity, 93. And yet I won in a landslide. Now, you know what that means? Now think of it. 93%. And you know, like with Kamala, she made a bad statement on CBS 60 Minutes, and they had to pay me a lot of money, $38 million. You know what she did? Her statement was so bad the night before the election, it was so bad, that they took another answer that she gave, which was not bad. It wasn't good. It was nothing. And they put it in where she, and we found out they did it. They changed the answers. BBC has me, AI, saying about hate. We hate, we hate. I said, that's not me. They changed my lips. I couldn't even tell myself. I said, I didn't know. This gets very, but think of it, 93% bad stories, only bad. And if it's a good story, they make it bad. You know, you can make anything bad. You could have a baseball team won 21-2, and the writer says they should have won by more. That's where we are. We're winning 25-0, and they say we should be doing more. There's never been a first term of a president, they say, and even the radical left lunatics say it, that's accomplished more than we have. It's never happened. Never happened. But just to finish off, you know, I love the weave, because the weave is great. You go out, Pa, go out. You always have to come back. Someday I won't come back, and they'll say, all right, he's shot. That's it. The weave, I call it, the weave, because you get a lot of stories into one little sentence. But when you have 93%, and you win in a landslide, you know what it means? It means that the media has lost total credibility. Nobody believes them. That's what it means. Very simple. But thanks to the massive tax cut, American seniors just received your largest tax refunds of all time, by far. And here in the Sunshine State, we've issued 2.5 million Florida seniors over $13 billion. Now think of that. Now, I don't happen to be a senior. I'm much younger than you. I'm a much younger man than you. Look at you old guys. Wouldn't you like to be my age? It's young, vital, vibrant. No, I'm much, much younger than the people in this room, but I feel I can relate to you anyway. See, now the fake news will go tonight, and they'll say, he's claiming to be younger than the people. You understand? That means more money to visit your grandkids, bigger budget for taking a trip to someplace that you want to go, or extra dinners out with your family. You're going to do a lot. You're going to do a lot. You know what to do with the money. But I saw it recently. People are being interviewed. And yeah, why don't you sit down here? Come on, front row, Joe. Sit down. Get them all to sit down. You know, it must be good when front row Joes still stand up after 300 or something, whatever the hell. They're still standing. That's pretty good. But it's been an amazing period of time. Our country is hot again. We have a great country again. We're respected as a country again. So these are your golden years, but these are really beyond your golden years. This is the golden age of America. This is where we are. We're in a period of time, and you've lived, and you're going to live a long time longer, but you're going right now through the golden age of America. The crooked Joe Biden people, these are radical left lunatics that almost destroyed our country. I'll tell you what, if we didn't win this election, I believe our country was dead. I don't think it could have sustained the open borders, transgender mutilization of your children. I believe our country, men playing in women's sports, they say that's an 80-20 issue. It's not. It's a 99-1 issue. The mutilization of your children, that's a 99-1 issue. These aren't 80-20. They say that's a 70-30 issue. It's not a 70. It's every one of them, and so many others. Frankly, look, they have the worst policy in history, but they stick together. Republicans have to stick together. If we stick together, we can't be, because we have great policy, common sense policy. Under crooked Joe Biden, American seniors were ravaged by the worst inflation in the history of our country, devastating the budget, senior citizens. You know, when I say the history of our country, I'm always criticized because they correct me. They say it was 48 years. It wasn't history. It was 48. And I think that sounds pretty bad, too. I actually think 48 years, it sounds more specific. It actually is better. So they say the worst inflation in 48 years. I say the history of our country. But you had the worst inflation we've ever seen. Prices soared, healthcare costs.
Well, you're obviously listening to President Donald Trump. He is speaking in Florida. He's talking about no tax on Social Security. And we're going to monitor the rest of the event and dip in occasionally. But now, caught on tape. This is every defense lawyer's nightmare. This tape, you don't have to be on the jury to see. You can see it right now. U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, has released it. It shows Cole Allen, the man charged with attempting to assassinate President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. Now, we've cut the video into two parts. Here's the first part of the video, and it's from last Friday night, the night before Saturday's big dinner. You can see Allen walking around the Washington Hilton Hotel. That's where he had a hotel room and where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was to be held the following night. This hotel, by the way, has been used for this annual dinner for at least 20 years. It's well publicized as the location for the event. Okay, now the second part of the video. It shows Cole Allen the next night during the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And in this video, you see Allen storming through a Secret Service checkpoint and firing off shots from his pump-action shotgun. He was stopped and arrested. Right now, Allen is being held in a safe cell at a federal detention facility here in Washington. He's held in a 24-hour lockdown. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for May 11th. Meanwhile, China has been Iran's financial guardian angel. For decades, Iran has survived financial pressure from U.S. sanctions by selling oil to China. But now, the U.S. is blocking shipments from all Iranian ports. This in retaliation for Iran attacking ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. So now, though, Iran has a new idea. According to the Wall Street Journal, Iranian officials said Tehran could, quote, use previously unused weapons to attack U.S. warships from submarines to mine-carrying dolphins, end quote. The Wall Street Journal went on to say the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has threatened to step up escalation by cutting phone cables in the Strait of Hormuz, which would disrupt internet traffic globally. Former Deputy Commander of Central Command, retired Navy SEAL Vice Admiral Robert Harward joins me. Good afternoon, sir. And let me ask what may be a painfully naive question, but why can't we take over the Iranian ports that are there that are using them to mine and to stop ships?
We can, Greta. If the president decides to do that, he can do that. And I'm sure those are the options they discussed at the White House. He wants to get resolution here, but it's no longer about negotiations. It's about surrendering their nuclear capabilities and free passage. But if he feels the markets are going south, he can do exactly that. And in fact, if he did it with boots on the ground, that sends a very strong message to the people of Iran. So that is an option, I'm sure, on the table. And considering what we've done with our bombing campaign, there's been devastation already. He can add more to that equation before he puts boots on the ground. But those options are doable, and that's what our military's trained and has done. We've done it in Venezuela. We already did it in Iran to recover a pilot. We can put boots on the ground and take those ports and that coastline.
But why does it even take boots on the ground if you just destroy their ports? Because then the boats just, go up the Strait of Hormuz, go up and then come back down. Why are boots on the ground even necessary if you decimate their ports and their shipping abilities with bombs?
Because they're hidden, they're buried. There's stuff we haven't been able to detect from the air. So putting boots on the ground gives you that verification. Now, I'm not saying the president's going to do that, but that's the sort of fidelity you get with boots on the ground. And I'm not saying to occupy land, but to verify. If you think there's something underground or you want to make sure that area is clear, putting people on the ground to accomplish that. But more importantly, that's a message to the people of Iran. that we have that ability to do that anywhere in Iran, as we've already demonstrated. So there is always advantages to people on the ground verifying and being able to do things you can't necessarily do from the air.
Well, what's left, though, if we've decimated their leadership, and some question whether there is, who's in charge, who's on first, if their economy is in shambles, if their Navy has been destroyed, I don't know. I mean, the only thing that's sort of left is to find these enrichment facilities. That seems to be the only thing that's left, right? I mean, I guess they still have missiles, but we've even taken out their ability to launch a lot of missiles.
Well, not just the enrichment facilities, the highly enriched uranium itself. That's the holy grail. If you recover that, the enrichment facilities are Mock's nicks. And we bombed most of those facilities, so we think the cascades were destroyed. But again, someone couldn't verify that. So if they are surrender or we were to take the highly enriched uranium, that ceases the program completely. And then again, back to the missiles and drones, those are still hidden. What they have left, they're playing hide and seek with. So those are two of the objectives that would really clarify this and present no risk, much less if, and again, I have not seen a report of a mine being used, or if we found any, those are the last real threats to anything we want to achieve in Iran, other than regime change. But the people will take care of that at the end of the day.
Except the people really took to the streets late December, early January, but I haven't heard, boo from them. I don't know what's going on. Of course, they got slaughtered when they did take to the streets. But Vice Admiral Robert Harward, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Coming up, you will never believe it. Finally, in this enormously polarized city, the Senate agrees on something unanimously. That when the record continues.
I was really afraid.
Of what?
Of you?
Marlena Dietrich, Mae West, Rita Hayworth, and more. Fearless pioneers of the screen. Angelic, tough, sexy, in control. They broke the rules and paved the way. Watch Starlets, the ladies who made Hollywood.
They tell you to optimize, to hack. But what if you were never broken? Armor Colostrum, the first food of life, reawakens your innate brilliance. 400 nutrients, 4 seconds, 1 daily revival.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's all-American customer service team is standing by.
New Cologuard Plus?
Yep.
Colon cancer screening delivered to your door? Check. No prep? Check. Non-invasive?
Checkity check check.
The Cologuard Plus test is not for those at high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. It's the box that checks all the boxes.
Oh no, is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today.
This could be it.
Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green-lipped mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. and look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy 1 bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy 1, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
The whole world, unfortunately, has become somewhat of a casino. And you look at what's going on all over the world, in Europe and every place they're doing these betting things. I was never much in favor of it. I don't like it conceptually, but it is what it is. They have all these different sites. They have predictive markets. It's a crazy world. It's a much different world than it was.
That was President Trump last week. This was when he was asked about the Special Forces soldier who was arrested for gambling on the operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Prosecutors say Gannon Ken Van Dyke made more than $400,000 trading on Polymarket. The feds say the Special Forces soldiers used classified information to bet that Maduro would be removed from office. The soldier was allegedly involved in the planning and execution of the mission. Needless to say, his prediction on Polymarket hit big. So what is Polymarket? Well, it's a new craze along with Kalshi. On Kalshi and Polymarket, you can gamble on literally anything: elections, politics, sports, culture, the weather, and even, to my great surprise, this news show. Yesterday, I interviewed President Trump. You were able to bet on what the president would say during my interview. There were specific words like artificial intelligence, filibuster, and Israel, to name a few. This market went up around noon or so, which is after the interview was announced. The only problem? I had pre-taped this interview, so if you had heard the interview or read the transcript, you could have cashed in. That would have been insider trading, though. Nearly $1 million was bet on this show in the market. So is Congress doing anything?
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
Opposition is growing to the proposed Union Pacific-Norfolk Southern merger, a deal that would slash transportation choices and weaken America. Businesses, workers, and elected officials are sounding the alarm. This merger threatens economic growth and stifles competition. When freight rail options disappear, consumers pay the price. To protect America's future, we need to hit the brakes on this unnecessary and costly merger. Learn more at stoptherailmerger.com.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
You're careful about what you bring home when shopping, especially when it comes to feeding your family. Shouldn't your investments work the same way? At Timothy Plan, we offer a wide selection of mutual funds and ETFs that can help you allocate assets without compromising your values. From technology to healthcare, energy to real estate, our funds are not only diverse but uncompromising to your values. Timothy Plan funds are filtered to avoid companies involved in abortion, pornography, human trafficking, and other harmful agendas. What you invest in should reflect what you stand for. Are your investments bearing good fruit? What's in your portfolio? Contact your financial advisor today to find out, or contact Timothy Plan directly at 1-800-TIM-PLAN to discover more. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drew Pinsky. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
At 9:47 a.m. on the 20th of February, 1962, Lieutenant Colonel John Glenn Jr. of New Concord, Ohio, found himself sitting on top of an Atlas 6 rocket filled with 600,000 pounds of fuel. At liftoff, 360,000 pounds of thrust hurled the massive rocket and its occupant into space and America's history books. John Glenn became the fourth human being to enter space and the first American to orbit the Earth. For his remarkable heroism, President Kennedy awarded Colonel Glenn NASA's Distinguished Service Medal.
As our knowledge of this universe in which we live increases, may God grant us the wisdom and guidance to use it wisely. Thank you, Colonel.
Glenn went on to become the United States Senator from Ohio, and in 1984 ran for the Democratic presidential nomination, but lost to Walter Mondale. When Rosa Parks stepped on that Montgomery, Alabama bus on December 1st, 1955, she didn't set out to make history. She just wanted to get home. Montgomery's segregated buses had divided seating, white passengers in front, colored passengers in the back. When the bus driver needed more seats for his white passengers, he ordered her and 3 others to vacate their seats. The others complied and moved. But Rosa quietly refused and was quickly arrested. Working alongside Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa's arrest sparked a highly effective citywide protest with African Americans boycotting city buses. Rosa's protest and resulting boycott didn't end segregation, but it sparked a movement that ended the racial system, paving the way for a more equal society. You're watching An American Moment. In the early morning hours of May 2nd, 2011, the Central Intelligence Agency launched Operation Neptune Spear and set into motion a mission to bring one of the world's most notorious terrorists to justice. All indications were that Osama bin Laden was asleep as the U.S. Naval Special Warfare Development Group, known as SEAL Team 6, approached his highly secured 3-story Pakistani-based compound. When located in his living quarters on the 3rd floor of his compound, the head of the Islamist group Al-Qaeda was found using his young wife as a shield. The Obama administration reported the 54-year-old terrorist was given a traditional Islamic burial at sea. 9 years, 7 months, and 21 days following his infamous attack on New York's Twin Towers, killing thousands of innocent civilians, its mastermind, Osama bin Laden, was dead. It took 34 years to build, but on August 15, 1914, the Panama Canal was officially opened for business and was quickly crowned one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. President Theodore Roosevelt believed the completion of the canal was essential to American security and prosperity, so he negotiated with the French to purchase the canal's properties and dredging equipment. But when negotiations with Colombia over a canal treaty broke down, Roosevelt backed a local bloodless revolution that lasted only a few hours. And on November 3, 1903, the nation of Panama was born. With the opening of the Panama Canal, the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans were joined, reducing a ship's journey from New York to San Francisco by 9,000 miles. Roosevelt's vision made the canal a reality, and the feat helped make America a world power. You're watching An American Moment. At 9:47 a.m. on the 20th of February, 1962, Lieutenant Colonel John Glenn Jr. of New Concord, Ohio, found himself sitting on top of an Atlas 6 rocket filled with 600,000 pounds of fuel. At liftoff, 360,000 pounds of thrust hurled the massive rocket and its occupant into space and America's history books. John Glenn became the fourth human being to enter space and the first American to orbit the Earth. For his remarkable heroism, President Kennedy awarded.
Well, we want to apologize for leaving so abruptly. It was a little bit of a surprise to me as well, but we had a little technical difficulties. But as I was saying before we did this abrupt technical issue, congressional stock trading has been a hot topic among the public. Wisconsin Republican Congressman, Chair of the House Administration Committee, Bryan Steil, joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And there are two issues at hand. One is this predictive stock market business where you can make money predicting what's going to happen. And there's also the stock trading that's done on Capitol Hill, or the conventional stock trading. Should Congress be trading in either? The Senate says no to the predictive one.
Well, the bottom line is members of Congress, elected officials, or all individuals working in the federal government should not be able to benefit by any inside information they gain while conducting their job. I carry a bill to stop insider trading. It bans members of Congress from being able to trade stocks. We're working to even expand that to pick up key aspects of these prediction markets to make sure that members of Congress also are not engaged in betting on federal elections or other issues that come up where they may have insider information. Already illegal to trade with insider information, but let's ban it outright so there isn't even the appearance of impropriety.
Why is there any resistance to that? I mean, it seems like I get the stock stuff. You know, if you come into Congress and you have a stock portfolio, but it's easy to put in mutual funds or to give it to a financial advisor to handle and basically have a blind trust. I get that one. But when members of Congress, they do get the inside scoop on what banking hearings or what's coming up, or even this prediction thing. I mean, yesterday $1 million was bet, almost $1 million on my interview with President Trump that we did in the morning. It didn't air until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, people, I could have made a fortune maybe, but you know, to me, it's the idea that it feels crooked.
Well, Greta, you give the perfect example of what can go wrong inside some of these prediction markets if somebody wants to use inside information, again, which is illegal, but proving it is half the battle. That's why I think broadly we should be banning elected officials, members of Congress, from being engaged in any form of stock trading or any sort of prediction as it relates to their official duties. That full outright ban, I think, actually moves us in the right direction and begins to regain the trust of the American people, which is completely lost in so many ways in what's going on in Washington, D.C. The prediction markets are reasonably new. That's probably why we haven't had legislation there. But change is difficult in Washington, and getting the stock member ban through has just been a slog, even with the support of President Trump, which he called out in his State of the Union.
Chairman Bryan Steil from the, I might add, the great state of Wisconsin. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greta.
Meanwhile, yesterday, cancer survivor Shira Boehler met with Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz. After the meeting, Dr. Oz took to X to tweet these pictures with the caption, quote, "Great evening at the Trump Kennedy Center with my friend Shira Boehler. Shira seems like the least likely to get cancer. She was fit, healthy, non-smoking wife, mother of 4, when a scan detected lung cancer. Now cancer-free, which is spectacular news, by the way. She's a relentless advocate for proactive screening. Her advocacy comes at a time when lung cancer kills more American women than breast, ovarian, and cervical cancer combined, and early detection just might save a life," end quote. Cancer survivor and author of the book, One Scan Saved My Life, Shira Boehler joins me. Nice to talk to you. And I was reading about you. You seem like the least likely person to go to have. I mean, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you're not right. You're not even human. You could exercise.
You're right, Greta. It was a complete shock. I actually ran 6 miles the morning that I went and did this preventative scan, and when the doctor sat me down in the office and told me I had lung cancer, I thought, wrong person, wrong scan. My dad's a lung doctor. I've never puffed a cigarette. I've never been around secondhand smoke. But that's not the only risk factor. And I found that though I was unlucky to get cancer, I was lucky to catch it in stage 1 and the luckiest girl in the world to be able to run 5 weeks later, another 6 miles. But that my diagnosis was not unique and that you were right.
Well,
lung cancer is killing so many young, healthy women.
But why in the world did you get a scan? I mean, it's like looking at there no weight loss, no pain in your chest, no nothing. I mean, what provoked you to go get a scan in the first place?
You're right. No symptoms at all. Why did I get the scan? Probably because my husband and I are healthcare investors. So we do all the things. We find it interesting. We learn about all the new technologies out there. We pay out of pocket. It's like a interesting business adventure. It's interesting to learn about our bodies. Both my parents, both my brothers are doctors. So we always looked at doing all the things, the full genome sequencing, 23andMe, the Gallery Grail blood test, the scans.
Well, you know, I mean, you mentioned the Gallery test. I do that Gallery test too, but you know, that's a luxury. Insurance won't pay for that. It's $950 to do the test. But I mean, you and I are lucky. You know, most of the people just aren't like it. Scans aren't cheap, and unless you know, I mean, that's what is you know, the tragedy of it is that you are absolutely right to get these tests, but it's just that not everybody has access to them.
You're right, Greta. I know that, and I am the luckiest girl in the world, and so are you. And that is why I wrote the book, to educate people, and that is why all my profits from the book are going to Cancer Doesn't Care Fund. And the Cancer Doesn't Care is a foundation I started to do exactly what you said, to pay for people's scans. I'm working with HHS and the United States Preventative Services Task Force to change guidelines so that we can include more people in lung screening so that Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance will cover it. But until then, all of my profits from my book go to the foundation to cover people's screens that aren't as lucky as we are.
Do you have any distant family member who had this or anything at all? Because, I mean, like I said, I went through your whole list, and, you know, a cousin, an aunt, or an uncle. Anybody have lung cancer in your family?
No, Greta, nobody in my family's had lung cancer. I would say that my mother has survived breast cancer. She was diagnosed 26 years ago and was treated and very healthy today. What's interesting about that, when she was diagnosed, people ran to help her. They asked if they could drive the kids. They asked if they could make her dinner. For me, being a lung cancer survivor, my first question is not, can I drive the kids? Can I help make you dinner? But it is, do you smoke? And we need to change that narrative also. It's not just a smoker's disease. If you have lungs, you can get lung cancer. And we should be screened. And my foundation is going to help cover those screens until we can get insurance and Medicare to help cover them. And right now, Greta, even if you have it in your family, it's not covered in a screen like it is for a mammogram or a colonoscopy. So we need to change that. We need to change the narrative, and we need to increase screening guidelines.
Well, you're doing a very good thing, as I've introduced you, you know, the spectacular news that you know, that you're cancer-free. So congratulations, and you're doing a great thing by putting awareness on. Shira Boehler, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, it was the largest mass arrest in U.S. history. Where was it and when? That one, the record continues.
If you're looking for a nutritional supplement that really makes a difference, look at Immuno 150.
I can hardly believe how much my health has improved within 6 weeks of starting Immuno 150. I have more energy, my pain is gone, and I've lost weight too.
This is an example of what we hear from thousands of customers. Place your order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. You won't believe what 7 times more minerals can do for you. Order now. You'll be glad you did.
What if you could have shades like these for a fraction of big brand prices? With Shady Rays, you can. We're an independent company, so we do things differently. We offer high-quality polarized shades for a reasonable price, and we personally replace shades that get lost or broken. So far, we've racked up over 300,000 5-star reviews. I founded Shady Rays so that we can have sunglasses that stand up to whatever life throws at us. Order now and get 20% off site-wide at shadyrays.com.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there. Wrap it up. Come on, Dad. It's been forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
Think you need a new roof? Think again and save thousands. We'll help you put off the high cost of a roof replacement for at least 5 years.
Or 10.
Or sometimes even 15.
We're America's most trusted roofer because we always try to save your roof rather than replace it.
We'll restore your roof for a fraction of the cost of a new one. But don't wait. If your roof loses too much protective coating, it's too late. Call now or scan the code and we'll give you an assessment of your roof for free.
I wish I wasn't afraid to smile.
I wish I could get implants.
I wish I knew who to trust.
I'm not looking for another quick fix.
I want a smile I know will last.
Clear Choice smiles are made to stand the test of time. They're built by dental implant experts, backed by 20 years of pioneering research and a lifetime warranty on premium arches. Our smiles are built for life. Schedule your free consultation today.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
We're proud to create jobs right here in South Carolina. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the right way.
We make American flags the way they should be made, where they should be made.
Join our pledge to keep the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
Today's May Day. It's also known as International Workers' Day. It dates back to May 1st, 1886. It's an annual day of peaceful protests held on May 1st, obviously. And today, many cities across the country are holding protests. According to an organizer, the demonstrations are calling for peaceful protests to put workers over billionaires. How? Well, by not going to school, not going to work, and not going out to shop. However, May Day has not always been about workers. For instance, back on May 1, 1971, demonstrations were held in Washington, D.C. On that day, in that year, people were protesting the Vietnam War. The demonstration was organized by the May Day tribe. It brought tens of thousands of protesters to our nation's capital. They listened to music and camped out at a park near the Lincoln Memorial. But a day later, President Richard Nixon's administration revoked their camping permit. Police then raided the encampment. And then on May 3rd, it took a turn. Protesters tried to block bridges, traffic, and government buildings to create chaos. What was their slogan? Quote, here it is, if the government won't stop the war, we're going to stop the government, end quote. Nixon then deployed more than 20,000 police and federal troops to keep order. By the end of the day, more than 7,000 protesters were arrested, and over the next 2 days after that, more chaos. And at the end of the protests, a total of 12,000 people were arrested. This was the largest mass arrest in U.S. history. Coming up, how one state has taken a stand against some misbehaved robots. That when the record continues.
Hey, I'm Carl Higbee from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Another lost spring break? Turns out, the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservations. Latham's premium handcrafted pools are ultra durable for any climate. Can be installed in weeks, not months. And have hundreds of designs, sizes, and colors to choose from. For 70 years, Latham Pool has remained the gold standard in bringing backyard dreams to life. Our pools are easy to care for, won't stain or crack, and never require costly resurfacing. And with flexible financing options, your dream is within reach. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. It's never too early to start planning for a lifetime of memories. Visit LathamPool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's All-American customer service team is standing by.
Before Apoquel Chewable for allergic itch, giving dogs pills was a battle of wits.
Oh, Maria, I'm wise to your foolish game.
Is it gone?
Totally gone.
Relief for itchy dogs can be easier. Apoquel, the trusted #1 treatment for allergic itch, is available in a tasty chewable that works fast.
May cause worsening of existing parasitic skin infestations, serious infections, or pre-existing cancers. New neoplasias have been observed. Do not use in dogs under 12 months of age with serious infections or in breeding, pregnant, or lactating dogs.
Ask your vet for Apoquel Chewable.
Do it!
Healthy aging support starts here with the innovative nitric oxide science pioneered by Human, supporting your body from the heart out through circulation, blood flow, blood pressure, and energy. Results you can feel, science you can trust. Get started today at human.com.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salonpas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salonpas. It's good medicine.
Self-driving cars have become a headache for cities across the United States. These cars are powered by GPS and computers to drive the right way and follow the speed limit, but mistakes still happen. Earlier this year, one of those mistakes happened in Phoenix. The Waymo self-driving car drove a passenger onto train tracks. Even worse, a train was following shortly behind it. Luckily, the passenger escaped with no injuries. Another incident happened in Los Angeles. A Waymo car was caught on video blocking traffic on a busy street. And also in California, another Waymo car made an illegal U-turn right in front of police. The officers pulled the car over, but they couldn't issue a ticket. Why? Because there's no protocol for giving a ticket to a robot. But now California is changing that this week. The California Department of Motor Vehicles approved new rules to ticket these vehicles starting July 1. When a vehicle disobeys a traffic law, police will be allowed to issue tickets to the vehicle's manufacturer. The manufacturer then has to respond with details of the incident. Waymo has responded to the new rules. It says disclosing details of these incidents will threaten Waymo's confidential business information. Never dull, huh? Thanks for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take is next. Have a wonderful weekend, and do stay with Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.